sharing. Just give me a sec, mate. There's no automatic way to get it to LinkedIn, so I've got to post to it. But guys, Jimmy here from My Online Guy. This is the last day of SEO week, and that coincides with Frothy Friday today. I've got some leftover ginger beers from the Three Rivers Brewery, which is just down the road here. Luckily, we literally have a brewery 200 meters from us, so that always helps. So you got a drink over there, James?
Yeah, I'm just drinking Coke at the moment. I've been up early. I had a meeting at like 7:30 a.m. Sydney time, so I'm feeling a bit tired.
Ready to charge on. Hopefully this one's, oh man, now I've got double sound going on here. Hopefully this gives you a bit of a lift, mate. We'll keep this casual, but yeah. So for those who don't know, this is James Norkway over at Prosperity Media, a mate of mine and fellow agency owner, the beast from the east. Just quickly introduce yourself, James.
Yes, hello. I'm James Norquay from Sydney. We got a SEO specialist agency in Sydney. We've got 16 SEOs all in the office. So, yeah, I think we're definitely one of the largest SEO specialist teams in Sydney. One of the bigger ones in Australia. I think there's not many specialist agencies getting around these days. So, yeah, that's what we do. We mainly just specialize in SEO and content. Yeah, everyone in our team is very passionate about SEO. That's our bread and butter, and we love it.
Now, mate, you've broken a record on here. You're the only person I've had on twice, so you're a reoccurring guest. But yeah, how you been, mate? What's new in the world?
Yeah, been pretty good. I guess everyone in Sydney is facing the same shenanigans with the lockdown at the moment. So I think we're in like our 4th month of lockdown. So yeah, it is a bit challenging on that front. We had to have a few new staff members start during lockdown, so we've had to develop a full new onboarding like onboard training thing for all the new starters. So that's been a lot of work, but everyone's looking forward to getting back to the office on what they're calling Freedom Day on the 11th of October. So it should be a lot of fun.
Excellent, man. I'd say I have a lot of, we were just talking about this before we got on, being in lockdown for 4 months. So ironically, the lockdown literally started 2 weeks before we went over there. We camped out at James's office, and I took some of my team over there, and we caught up for a few days, and it just happened to coincide. The week we left was the week that Sydney got locked down. So we got real lucky because we were probably one of the last people to actually travel before the state got locked up. So
yeah, it's crazy times at the moment. I think I think one of my friends was on like the last plane that was allowed into Perth before they stopped the planes. So a lot of people have been trying to get out, and hopefully things open up soon. I think a lot of business owners are very keen to see some activity happening.
Yeah, and look, I feel you, man. Like, look, there's a lot of business owners. At least, we'll talk about this in a sec, but at least you got a bit of diversity in your client base, and it's spread over the place. I've got several clients over there in Sydney that they're just not opening up after the lockdown. They just couldn't survive it. So it's always the grass is always green. As much as it's bad, it could always be worse, right? So why I got you on today, mate, it's just a casual chat. James has been in the industry a long time, so I wanted to get James on to hear his thoughts about what we've been speaking about this week, which is about helping business owners, quite frankly, helping business owners not get ripped off in digital marketing. And because it's SEO week, I thought, why not speak to you about this? So, in the week, basically, I covered off, what SEO is, so that's cool. But like yesterday, I covered off on expectations of what SEO can and can't do, and expectations, what a business's expectations should be of an agency. So, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, I think it depends on what the business's requirements are. I mean, the expectation on an agency, I think you just got to set clear KPIs at the start of the project. These KPIs could be things like traffic growth, revenue growth, like certain commercial rankings, stuff like that, just setting clear KPIs at the start of the campaign and having the right expectations, I think you've always got to be upfront with clients and say, rankings are going to take, depending on how competitive the vertical is, it could take 3, 6, 12 months plus, you know. We always set the expectations that SEO is a long-term play. We're definitely not an agency that talks about getting results in days or weeks or doing anything shady like that. You know, it's long-term sustainable rankings and visibility and growth. So that's usually the best way to do it.
So it's funny because I pretty much said exactly the same thing. I think good agencies that do good work, that work with clients, that have been doing this for a while, like SEO specifically in a while, have a different perspective on SEO than people that maybe are newer to the industry, especially. Because like James works from everyone between, like everyone from your local plumber all the way up to big ASX listed companies. What are obviously, when you're working on the higher end of town with some of these bigger clients, what you do for them is quite transparent because it can be all scrutinized, right? So what do you think a business owner, based on your experience, what do you think a business owner should be looking out for when they're talking to a guy who calls them up on the phone, cold calls, and ask them about SEO? What kind of questions do you reckon they should be asking them?
I guess the first thing a business owner needs to say is like, how much transparency do you have with the work that you're doing? Like, are you going to be willing to show me every link that you've built and show me all the elements of the campaign activity that you're doing on a month-to-month basis? I think transparency on work completed is one of the most crucial things that companies need to ask for. So at the end of each month, just say, can you give me a work report of what was actually done this month and what you're going to do next month? That's like a bare minimum requirement, but so many agencies usually don't ask that type of thing. They'll just do whatever, like they'll a lot of companies, like one common scam that I see is they just don't do any work. You see people getting charged 10K a month for 2 links a month, and like it's just like, wow, you're paying 5K a link and they haven't done anything else. They've sent you an automated report. You're getting taken for a ride here. I didn't actually see results. So yeah, you've as a business owner, you've just got to be monitoring the Google Search Console activity as well, monitoring your analytics, looking at your conversion data, everything like that.
Sorry, the ginger whinger's kicking my ass for some reason. But man, yeah, no, exactly. I think that's a really good point. I think it has this like black magic sort of vibe about it. When, as as well as I know, I'm very transparent about this. I learned everything I know about SEO off basically YouTube and a couple of courses. There's no reason a business owner can't just learn 5 or 6 elements of it, just enough to be dangerous, just so they can hold people to account. And Big Nick, the big dog, Google Ads is coming up soon, my friend. You're going to get the call. There's no one better in this industry when it comes to shopping Google Ads. So you're get ready for a phone call, Nick. But good to see you. Good to see you, Chris. Thanks for jumping on. Now, if you put yourself in a business owner's shoe for a sec, you're getting called up, high pay, whatever. You put it out there that you're looking for SEO. My first bit of advice, any business owner that's watching this, don't just go publicly posting you're looking for an SEO.
Yeah, that's one of the worst things you can do is go into a group and go to Digital Marketers Australia and say, I'm looking for an SEO agency. Firstly, you're going to get like 100 people messaging you, and usually people will just recommend their own business as well. They'll be like, "Oh, I've got great results with my online marketing guy. Like they're killing it." And you see like Jimmy Mitchell has posted this. It's like I think that's one of the a lot of people rely upon that strategy, but super risky. Like you don't know what you're going to get.
Yeah, it's so funny. It's one of the most underhanded things I've ever seen, and this is story time for me. But one of the most underhanded things I've ever seen is I was working with I started working with a client, and we were talking about the previous company that they worked with, and he told me that the reason he's moved away from it is he got all these. So the company gave him a proposal and said, "I'll call these companies up, they about our work." Called them up, and they were legitimate, like they were people, talking to them, and it all married out. But he did an ABN search on these businesses, and they're all owned by the marketing company. So all the people he was telling as referrals, he looked up and they all had the same ABN number. It was, I was like, God, that's like meta level scamming. You gotta be really thinking about what you're doing there to make that happen. And just shows a little tiny bit of diligence. You know, all business owners know how to do their diligence. They just don't seem to do it in marketing specifically. I don't know why, but you know, what's some of the shadiest sort of shenanigans you've seen, James, in your time?
Oh man, like I think like people just charging for not doing any work is a common one. That's like a real common scam, you know, like people will get charged 10K a month and they just don't get any deliverables or any results. Like I think the best thing you can do as a business owner is just ask for clear deliverables every month. Like just see what work's actually being done. Like that's the common scam. I mean, we've seen heaps of shady work. I remember like one client that we work with that like a couple of years ago, they used an agency that blasted their site with like 50,000 links from like hairdressing websites in Russia and all sorts of crazy stuff. And they basically said that like that was their whole strategy. It was just to blast the site with like Russian domains and all sorts of things. And that's how you're going to get results. And it was like a .com.au website. So they basically just destroy the website. So we had to come in and do like a massive disavow and basically clean it all up over a couple of years. And yeah, like I've seen a lot of businesses get you get a lot of calls from people that have been taken for a ride, and like you get like business owners that are basically in tears on the phone, and they say that they've had to lay off staff because their campaign's been destroyed by a shady offshore team or someone locally that just doesn't know what they're doing. And I think that's another problem with the SEO and the digital marketing industry as a whole. Like anyone can get into it, you know, anyone can put on their LinkedIn that they're an SEO expert. Like anyone can say they're a Facebook ads expert and they can try to win business. But I think you got to do your due diligence in terms of checking the team. Like what are their credentials? Do they have relevant industry case studies? Have they actually been active in the industry? Are they like a thought leader, sharing advice on YouTube and writing about it on the blog, or are they just someone who's trying to make a quick buck? You know,
that is it. Like I think if I was a business owner and I was looking for SEO, not knowing what I know about marketing now, that's the first thing I'd do. Is like I'd go on LinkedIn, I'd go all over the place, just see how actively they are involved in the industry. Because as you know, SEOs and just marketers and agency owners and stuff, we all kind of know each other, right? Like all the good agencies kind of know each other. So like you'll see there'll be a lot of like cross communication, cross linking, sharing of each other's stuff, because it's like you're all doing good work. So like and you brought up a really good point, James. Like it's not that hard to learn the surface of SEO, like learn cursory SEO. It's not that hard. So what people do is they go on YouTube and go, oh, this is like a laptop lifestyle, 4-hour-a-week lifestyle. I'm just going to, automate the whole process, outsource the team and sit on a beach somewhere. But it's not like that, eh? Like if you do it properly, it's a full-time job.
That's the thing about SEO. It's massive investment into like content, link acquisition, like technical on-site factors. You got to really put in a lot of manpower and on the project, you know, like if you really want results, like some campaigns need a lot of resources to get results, especially in competitive verticals. Like in certain verticals now, they're getting so damn competitive because everyone's realized the benefit of SEO and digital marketing since COVID's happened, or even before that, but it's really expedited it, you know. So people are really starting to invest now, and like even like it's crazy how you get a lead from a certain industry and then you start doing some research into that industry and you're like, wow, like I didn't realize this vertical was so damn competitive. Like people are building out crazy content assets, they're getting PR links, they build out like a huge topic cluster around everything in the industry, and then you start doing the research and you realize what you need to do to compete. And then sometimes you talk to these businesses and you say like, look, this is what your competitor's doing, this is what you're going to need to do to compete. And the problem is some businesses don't really have the budget, so it's hard to compete. You know, if you've got, like I said to people, if you've only got a couple $100 a month to spend on SEO, like you're better off just trying to do it yourself in some cases, because anyone that kind of offers those really cheap SEO plans, it's so hard to get results. Like just
I tell businesses the same thing. If they've got a budget, like a low budget, and it's not like practical for me to help, I say, do not just go and use someone from India and pay him $200 a month. You're better off doing nothing than paying someone that's going to do terrible work, because you could do, like you said, irreparable damage to your business by doing it not properly. So you're better off just not doing it, and you'll be better off than actually doing it poorly and getting penalized.
100%, and I think that's one of the biggest risks. I just had a message from Andrew Glintos, fellow SEO. Do you want me to try to invite him to the call?
Yeah, please do. This is an open forum. I think we can. It's all, that's why I tried to get other people on, because I can. It's just one man's opinion, but if everyone's singing from the same hymn book, that's good. But while you're doing that, the next question I was going to ask, it's something I've been thinking about myself. Like, what? So, a business owner is in this relationship. They're not 100% sure that they're getting the value. They've got some, account manager or someone like myself that can talk really well, talking to them, telling them that, tucking in the teddy, telling them they're getting a good result, but they're not 100% sure. What does a business owner do in that situation to like qualify, to determine whether the result they're getting is good or not? If they don't have the knowledge.
I think the easiest thing you can do is set up Google Search Console, and see like how many organic clicks are you getting in like the last 6 months versus the prior 6 months, and remove your brand queries. Like, that's so easy to do. Like, that's usually like anytime someone calls us, like, just jump on Google Search Console and say, how's it going? Like, how's your organic traffic going on Google Search Console? Are you getting clicks through that?
Just for the businesses that aren't watching, what's Google Search Console?
So Google Search Console is like the engine room from Google to show how your website is performing from an organic SEO point of view. So I'd highly recommend any business owner get that set up as like a first part of a project. Get your Google Analytics and your Google Search Console set up. I'd probably also advise on getting your Bing Webmaster Tools set up as well.
I don't know why. Hey, buddy, how you going? Nice to meet you. Sorry, I don't know why my cam is going all crazy. I don't know. I have no idea why.
You just got the the macro focus on it.
Man, I've got two webcams. Sorry to cut you into that, James. I apologise. I just don't know. It's using my iMac one and not my actual Logic cam. I'll just have to sit over here then. My big head is like over the thing. Maybe I'll try to. Sorry, this is really embarrassing. It didn't look like this on Zoom and Google Meet.
There we go.
Sorry.
I'll adjust to. Then James is out of the. There you go.
Awesome. Sorry, James. Continue.
Yeah, no, I was just answering Jimmy's question. How can business owners basically track results? And I said, get your Google Search Console set up, get your conversion tracking in Google Analytics. Just track your results via that. Start looking at visibility through like third-party tools like Ahrefs as well. So yeah, I mean that's what your starting point is. I mean, do you have anything to add to that, Andrew, in terms of like can track visibility for business owners that want to kind of track results from an SEO campaign?
Yeah, look, I think
maybe give everyone a little bit of an intro about who you are, Andrew, as well. Like, what's your background?
Okay. Cool. I'm just some guy James brings on streams with, because he seems to panic on his own. So it gives me like less than 24 hours notice. So my name is Andrew. I've been involved in the SEO industry since 2000, at the start of 2008. I got into it full time. We were playing around with it in 2007. I worked on international campaigns, national, from Kennards to Recall Information Management, Bing Lee, right down to your everyday removals company. So for me, I think James hit the nail on the head. Like I think it's clarification, it's education on understanding how to track performance. I think for my clients, right from the get-go, it's just explaining to them, look, what's important, what are your goals, what are your focus, why do you think you haven't achieved it so far, have you done SEO before, what did it work, yes or no, and really understanding what they're trying to achieve and how we can play a part in that. And I guess it starts and ends with education. That's what I'm...
Yeah, 100%. So my whole week has been around just trying to educate. Because, I mean, this is the thing, right? Like, I'm sure between the three of us, we have several stories of business owners that have come and spoken to us about how they've been ripped off, or, you know, spent 50 grand doing SEO and got no results and stuff. So this whole week has just been dedicated to, like, trying to educate that. And that's exactly right. You know, like, I think an ounce of education in this industry, like, negates like 90% of the bad players.
And I think it's a bit of an excuse to say, oh, you know, SEO is such a mysterious concept. It was when we started, you know, like,
yes.
You know, there was a lot of manipulation, there was a lot of tricks, and SEO is no more marketing than let's say any other form of content driven strategy. So it's about understanding. Look, I think if you can't break it down what you do simply, then you don't know it well enough.
That's it, 100%.
And
that's so true. So
yeah.
So Andrew, so if you were a business owner, right? So like turning it back on its head. So you're a business owner, knowing what you know about SEO, right? You're a business owner and you need SEO help. What kind of questions would you be asking the agency if they approach you or you approach them?
Do you have any competitors? Did you work with any of my competitors?
So why would you ask that? And just sort of clarify why you would ask them.
Generally, because if you know, there's only so many people you can get first for. But even if you do have multiple competitors, maybe their goals are different, their locations are different, their targeting is different. So let's start with, you know, understanding how many clients do they have, how many campaigns would my SEO team be working on concurrently with their own strategies? What is important? What do you sort of prioritize in terms of SEO? You know, how do you prioritize work? You know, how do you have a look at our website? What would be the first, 3 to 5 things you would work on in the first 6 months? I guess it's hard for businesses to sort of ask those sorts of questions when they don't know. But I think I would want to know, okay, this is the goals and objectives I have. How do you think you're going to help us achieve them? And start with the strategy and understanding the landscape in which we're looking at. Do you know much about our competitors? Do you know much about our industry? Have you worked in it before? Have you got success in it before? Thanks for the questions, full knowledge too, Jamie. I appreciate that. I like the curveballs. So I think I would break it down like that. I think I'll try to ask them, hey, look, this is what we want to achieve, and how much experience do you have, and have you gotten results for something similar? That's what I'll start with.
And what about you, James? You got anything to add to that?
Yeah, I mean, Andrew made a really good point. I think you don't want to take on a conflict client if you've already got a client that's in a certain vertical, like as Andrew's example about a removalist in Sydney. If you've already got someone who's targeting removalists in Sydney, you don't want to work with 2 removalists. Like, a lot of agencies won't even ask that. They'll just I've heard of like shenanigans where agencies that have 5 clients in one vertical. And how can you determine which client's going to be ranking first? It's that's a major issue in the industry that no one really talks about, like conflict of interest, and like for big clients, for most clients, we're happy to work out like non-compete arrangements where we'll just say, like, look, we're not going to take on another client in the same area as you. Like, we've already got this client in this vertical. Like, if we're going to take on another removalist, it'll be in Brisbane or Perth, Yes. Like, we're up front like that 100%. I think you got to be. Otherwise, like, it's too hard. Like, I people that take on multiple businesses in the same niche, like, I don't know. That's a bit shady, I feel. Like,
it's always under the guise of like niching an agency down. Like, you read about, like, on YouTube and everything. They're like, oh, you got to really niche your agency to get success, right? But like you were saying, you had a mate, James, that was in the only worked with travel agents, and then COVID COVID hit and that'll turn. Like you put all your eggs in one basket. Yeah, you get economies of scale and stuff like that. But it's also, I agree. It's like you bet in with someone, you partner up with someone. Someone has to be second. Someone has to be third. You can't just have two people that are first. So, like, how do you decide that? It's like, who's the better mate, or, because they're probably paying the same amount too. So, yeah, it just removes the
tricky.
conflict.
I think you've just got to be upfront and honest with people. And if someone contacts you, and even if they're not in the same industry, but in a similar niche, you just say, like, look, I'm already working with this company. Is that a problem? And then you ask the other client, is that a problem? And if they say, oh, no, that's sweet, like, there's no problem with it.
Yeah, exactly.
I think you just got to
Transparency.
be transparent and honest with clients. I think that's one of the biggest issues in the digital marketing industry. A lot of people aren't honest. There's a lot of people don't give a shit. They just want to make as much money as possible, and they don't care about the client. They don't give a shit about the client. They care about making money.
A previous agency that I know of used to break it down. I won't mention who it is. But actually, it wasn't a bad way of how they explained it. They were, well, look, think of us as a trainer. We're training 3 swimmers for an Olympic 100 meters race. Think about who puts in the most effort and listens to our recommendations, and will end up winning the race, which I think is probably an attempt at trying to resolve that sort of issue and conflict. But I think you boys are right. I think it's transparency.
I don't know, Andrew. I think that's a bit borderline.
That's a very thinly veiled way of saying we want the money, and this makes us sleep better at night. But
I have no comment.
It's interesting because, like, I brought up earlier in the week the expectations of what your expectations should be of an agency. Mine was communication. Like, if you are a person that picks up the phone and talks, you like communicating that way, you probably need to find an agency that communicates that way. Because, if you get reports, if you just want reports and you can understand, then that's fine. But if you get an agency that doesn't have a number that you can call, and you're used to just picking up the phone and calling people, that's going to create immediate friction. And I know from our end, like, it's really difficult to work with a client that doesn't want to communicate in the way that you'll optimize the agency for. So, I would just suggest, there's so many agencies out there, you'll find the one that's a perfect fit. And if you can communicate, then you can solve problems, if they're a good agency. So I think communication's a big part of that too. And, how many clients has, I'm going to ask this. So, like, we're talking about what clients should do. So obviously there's a lot of experience in here right now. Where, in retrospect, where are some of the areas, where you either lost a client or you failed or something's happened that, in retrospect, you should have done better as an agency to not, or, just working with them so that didn't happen?
I got one client in particular that I can think of, and basically, look, I think it failed for multiple reasons. It failed because we shouldn't have taken the job knowing that where they exactly were in their business journey. They were basically a startup that had to get results quickly, first of all, which was a brand new website in the insurance. It was insurance, but it was like a comparison insurance. So it was so difficult. It was a brand new website, and then they signed up this client that was a startup. The website looked like it was made in 1993. They had to get results really, really quickly, and that just, I should have looked at that. I was probably at that point probably done SEO for 4 or 5 years and just said, well, I'm not working on this. I know I'm getting paid by this agency to work on this client, but this is just, I can't see how it would work. It didn't, and that business doesn't exist. And obviously it's not because of the SEO campaign. But then again, some campaigns are doomed to fail from the start, and I think it takes that intelligence and that understanding on, hey, look, do you have the longevity? Like, I learned a lot from that, and go with your gut feeling, but making sure that the business is set up for SEO, and they can get through the storms that will inevitably come over time.
Yeah, that's a great point. It's hard to look at money and go, it's right there, but in the long-term play,
character, man.
Yeah, that's the test of metal, and no one knows how they're going to react until that's like dangled in front of them. But yeah, it's a good way to ruin a reputation too in the industry. If, you know, someone with one of these people has a channel for voicing their opinion. Next thing, you know, like it's hard to find work. But what about you, James? Where's some of the failures been in prosperity, and you know, what are some of the learnings from?
I think one of the biggest issues you can have with SEO campaigns is where like a new marketing person or new digital marketing comes in and they've got a prior relationship with another team. And it doesn't matter if you're getting fantastic results or you've seen 86% increase in traffic and made them a couple of million extra dollars from SEO in the last year. If they've got a prior relationship and they've got mates in another company, they're just going to change. Like there's no point kicking or screaming. I think another thing that we've seen in the past is people want quick results. So people will utilize like a PBN specialist agency because they're just like a company that is like, oh, we don't give a shit. We'll just do whatever it takes to get quick results. Like whilst you guys are all about white hat and doing things the right way, this other company has got this solution that will give us results in a couple of weeks, you know, and like, well, they're not going to show us how they're doing it, but they say it's Google safe. So you lose jobs like that. Or, I mean, sometimes we've even had people that just want to have a change. Like you have a client for 6 years or something, and then they're just like, they see like they get a cold call or an email from someone, and then they'll get dazzled and then they'll like, oh, we'll have a change and I'll go with these guys for 6 or 12 months. And then we've had it a few times where they've actually come and called back and said, oh, like I stuffed up. Like, will you take me back? You know? Yeah. And then we've had that happen a few times too. And you're like, oh yeah, we'll take you back on. Like if they're a good client, like we don't care. Like it is what it is. We've had all sorts of reasons, man. Like I guess the thing is, like, for all clients that we work on, we genuinely try and do the best work possible. But like Andrew said, sometimes it's just so competitive in certain verticals. Like if that's the hardest thing when you've got a new business and you're going into a very competitive market and it's hard to compete. That's a tricky one. I will agree.
I think it's important for like on the SEO side to be. Oh, what happened to James? He's gone.
He just I don't know. He just dropped the mic. He was like, "Yep."
Fair enough. That's it.
He'll jump back in. I'll resend him the link.
I think I think it's important for us SEOs to sort of form. I think SEOs have historically been a little bit more hesitant to. There is. That was it, man. That was enough. That was enough truth in there, man. I think SEOs have been hesitant to sort of form, groups and where we can exchange information and campaigns and feel like we're not going to get judged and we can trust each other and not take each other's clients and sort of. I think, like, for me, it would be horrible after 14 years of being somewhat like, let's say, if James respects me in the industry, for me, preserving that, means a great deal to me personally. And I think I would not want to, like, if he found out that I took on a client that I shouldn't have taken, I expect to get like a message from James going, what have you done, man? Like, you took this client, like, I told you not to take it. So I think that accountability when you're running your own agencies with other SEOs, I think it's healthy. And I think it would be good for the industry. I think historically we've been very sort of hesitant to share information at times to each other. I mean, there's a lot of information out there, but I'm talking about the real specific stuff that we can share, especially in Australia. I mean, this is not a new concept in UK or US. And forming a coalition sort of.
I like, it's interesting you say that because like I'm probably transparent to a fault at times, and but like we were only just saying before we jumped on, Andrew. If I was a business owner looking for an agency, the first thing I'd be doing is like seeing how exposed, like how much provenance the person I'm working with, or the agency I have is in the industry, not from we won this award, or whatever, but more just like, are they active in the space? Are they regularly posting about it? Do they actually genuinely give a shit about SEO, or are they just like doing it for money? because it's like I look at Nick Ranger and, you know, like she's everywhere. You know, if I was going to, I'd be like, oh, look, you know, she's talking on podcasts about SEO. She bloody runs SEO meetups. It's like, you know, it's a good sign that the person you're working with is going to be on the bleeding edge of what can work and what doesn't. And they're not going to risk their reputation by just running into the market. And I always say that. It's like, it's funny because I get asked this a lot. You know, the other day, someone told me we're ranking real well for SEO Perth or something. And I was like, I said, it doesn't give me leads. You know, I was like, yeah, it's awesome. It's nice. It's a nice chat. But I think the only reason we try and rank our site is because like it's important to practice what you preach. And if a client looks, I want them to be able to say, well, look, you know, everything we're saying for you, we do ourselves. And I think that ties into it, you know, like, you know, just the sharing and everything. But do you find that a bit, guys, like where you can tell that SEOs are a little bit cagey about sharing information and sharing what they sort of know?
And not when you get a few beers into James. He's all right.
Open book.
He'll start spilling beans.
Mate, when you hang around people like Dejan Mladanovsky, he'll if he drinks into Dejan and you can't shut him up, he'll be telling you everything. Yeah, 100%. No, we don't mind sharing some information and some insights with the right type of industry professionals. We've already got a few industry contacts that we stay in touch with a bit and have a chat to, you know, like people, especially I feel like maybe in the affiliate space, like people I know are maybe sharing more SEO tactics more than the agency space. Like there's only a handful of people in the agency space. There's far more in the affiliate space that that are very like they will share everything, you know, tests they're doing, and got a few random affiliates on Skype that they're always keen to have a chat. So I love it. Like it's good chatting to people like that.
Yeah, and I think it's all about trust at the end of the day, like who you trust. But yeah, look, going to meetups, people would, I think off camera, off air, sort of in real time, people would be more open. And I found out that's how I met James, right? By going to SEO meetups and meeting him and getting out of the company where you're just surrounded by the same people you work with, but branch out and you learn. And I will listen to James and I'll learn something, and I'll listen to you and I'll definitely learn something because we're coming at it from different perspectives.
Yeah, exactly. And I think this is just my personal opinion, and hopefully if someone's watching that doesn't agree with this, hopefully I don't get flamed for it. But like, I feel like a lot of people that are cagey and don't share what they know are not 100% comfortable with their knowledge base, and they're worried about getting exposed to the fact that maybe they don't know as much as they need to. But that's like there's no reference point for that. But like I talk to people and I'm like, why are you so cagey about this? It's like, what you know is what I know. It's not. Yeah, I just wonder if it's a little bit of that where they've got a little bit of self-confidence, like a self-confidence issue about where they sit in the market, and they just feel like, you know, they don't want to be exposed to potential ridicule or whatever. Not that I haven't met a single person in the marketing space that of any profession that does that would do that, because it's just not the thing to do. But like they just get it in their head that that's the thing.
And I think James as well. Sorry, I didn't want to cut you off.
No, you're right.
I think when a few of the team members from the agency I was working with, when we used to come down to meet James, and I think people like, I think when you want to talk about what you know, I think you guys would agree, like it was more about what tests and experiments have you done. I mean, yes. We'll sit around tables. I mean, telling a story about a campaign is one thing, but actually saying, hey, you know, we did X, Y, Z. We backed it up with data. I think in the SEO industry, I know this is like more of a recommendation for like juniors and intermediates. Like, I used to really, really love getting domains and actually getting them banned. It was like a pet. I just enjoyed it. I wanted to know what type of cloaking would go, and what if I got an expired domain, you know, how far could I take it? You know, I enjoyed the not being indexed anymore. I think it was fun. It was experiment, and you'll come down and you can share that information. And I think if you can do case studies and experiments, and then you can back that up with, I mean, obviously SEO is not a completely controlled environment, but I remember I think I don't know, James, you remember when we used to sort of meet up? That was like, if you were experimenting, then people would want to listen. And I think that's still the same case on a grander scale on the internet. But I think in Australia, I think it'd be good to get people to sort of, hey, we did, like, I might think of an experiment and I'll get you boys to join in, and maybe we'll, like, you know, get different domains and then testing things. I'll be honest, I've not done that. It's been too long since I've enjoyed banning domains and seeing what works and what doesn't work. And, like, you get so bogged down running the agency. But I would say for anyone getting into SEO, run experiments. And don't worry if they've been done before, because the algorithm keeps changing.
Yeah, 100%. You're a bit like, well, I suppose the affiliate space is more aligns with that as well, because it's you've got to constantly find that edge in the market, and there's some pretty smart cookies in that space that are constantly pushing the boundaries of what's acceptable, and that's what you're probably saying about the affiliate space being a little bit more collaborative, is because, like, everyone's constantly trying different things, and it's the bleeding edge, but
and less ego.
Yeah, less ego as well. Yeah, I think that's a lot what it is. It's just there's so many agencies, that just pop up and, like, disappear, into the night. And I think that's what it is everyone's trying to, like, position themselves, because they feel like, we've never really had a problem finding clients, but I know there's definitely agencies out there that struggle with that, and it's like they want to protect that, position, where they've got a couple of clients or 5, and they are genuinely worried that, like, you talk to James Norkway, he's going to go and pinch him, sort of thing. But obviously that's not the case. But it's it's what he thinks. But I think we'll start to wrap this up, guys. But I think what we'll end on, right, is so one of the things I spoke about in the things is in my last week is agency expectations, which we just covered off, and KPIs. But, what are your overall thoughts? Like, what are some key takeaways a business owner can take if they're watching, and what would you recommend, what would you recommend to them if they were trying not to get, like, you don't want them to be one of those stories of the people getting ripped off. What's some of the key takeaways they should really take from this?
James?
So I guess key takeaways for business owners not to get ripped off is, do your research. Don't just rely upon a Facebook group where someone's like, who's the best agency? That's risky. I'd even go as far to say, don't rely upon Google rankings. Like, just because someone's ranking first for SEO Sydney or Perth SEO or whatever, like, that's no indication that
are they going to put as much effort into ranking you as they did themselves?
Well, like, yeah, a lot of those rankings are inflated by tactics and whatnot. And even people, like, running paid ads, like, you got to be careful of that. Like, I do your background checks, as I said earlier. Like, look for people that are actively out there in the industry, active on Twitter, running, like, webinars like what you're doing right now, Jimmy. People that are actually sharing case studies, like Andrew said, tests, stuff like that. People that are actually in the weeds, doing the work, not just someone who's promoting themselves. Like, you got to find people that are actually doing the work and practicing what they preach. I think that's the first point of finding someone good, someone who's active on those channels. Second thing is just ask for transparency around link acquisition. If someone's doing link acquisition, you want to see all the links that are getting acquired. You don't want to ever hear someone say, oh, link building's our secret sauce and it's our black magic or whatever. Like, as soon as you hear shit like that, they're doing something shady. I think other things is just transparency on completed, a list of the work that's completed each month, and ask what's going to be done next month. I think the worst thing I always see is people getting taken for a ride is where they don't actively see what's being completed on a month-to-month basis, and they just forget about SEO and just pay the invoice, and they don't actually know what's being done. But I think communication is important as well. You want an agency that has good communication, like constant emails with updates and sending video reports and hopping on a call at least once a month at a bare minimum to say how you're going and how's the campaign going and give you some ideas, fresh ideas. I think I've heard of stories where it takes them 2 weeks to get a reply from the agency. Like, we try to reply to clients within hours, not weeks. So, I think you got to think about all this stuff.
I mean, I think, sorry, James, for you.
That's pretty much me.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just giving a few tactics and tips. I mean, and finally, the last thing I'd say is, like, learn about SEO yourself. Go to a conference, go to an SEO meetup, do an SEO course, jump on YouTube and like learn about what the hell SEO is, because if you don't invest the time to spend 5 or 10 hours learning what it is, you can be susceptible to getting
It's a higher risk, yeah.
Higher risk, you know.
That's a good point, yeah.
Just honestly, like I think James pretty much, you and James both said things pretty much the most common things. I would say, listen to the sales pitch, listen to what they're selling you. You know, for me, I just tell clients in the proposal, literally, here's the mountain that we're going to climb together, right? Like your goals are there. This is what we need to do. This is the Wild West. This is difficult. I think if someone's over promising, there's a good chance they're going to under deliver. You know, be open and honest. And if you feel like that company's not giving you the full story, if it feels like everything is just too easy, that's not a good sign, because we all know that SEO is really, really tough, and it's only going to get tougher. There's more competitors implementing SEO. There's more businesses out there. There's more websites out there. The algorithm's tougher. It's more strict. And it involves people to understand marketing and business, and you really need to feel like people that are working on the campaign, they have experience, and preferably experience in your industry, but not selling it like it's just, yeah, sure. Like after 14, 15 years of SEO, I'm still always nervous for new campaigns. Yeah. You know, I still, especially when they're in a competitive industry, I'm still nervous. I'm still feel like, you know, I need to make sure I'm on top of my game here. And if you need to feel that energy and passion, as you mentioned, Jimmy, that energy and the passion, that you care about what you're doing, and you can feel that from the agency. And everything else that James and you said is pretty much what I would have said too.
You know what, guys? Like, I think if you were to get 10, 20, 30 people, and you know, Norquay happens to do this at times, but COVID's made that more difficult. But like, if you were happen to get 20, 30 professionals, and professionals is a subjective thing, but like, you know, these people we're talking about that are active in the space and just trying to improve it and learn. You get 20, 30 people in the room, I don't think you'll find many different answers to that question. I think, you know, if business owners just spent like an hour watching primers on how search works, they would be able to, like, it would hone their bullshit detectors in so much that they could weed out like 95% of the people that do this, because you only have to peel back with people that really don't understand how search works and how SEO works. You only have to peel back one layer and they're completely exposed. If you question them on backlinks and you say, "Oh, what kind of backlinks you do?" They go, you know, like they got like the one trick and that's it, right? Whereas if you talk to a professional that really is a professional in the space, you know, they'll tell you exactly what they're going to do. They'll adjust the plan. They'll tweak it. They'll tell you, you know, if someone comes to me and asks me, "Oh, Jimmy, what kind of backlinks do you do?" I'll sit there and tell them for 20 minutes all the things we've been trying and like things I've been hearing about. And if they're keen to try, you know, like I think real people, professionals in this space, they just, if they're asked the right questions, you'll get the right answers. They'll give you the comfort as a business owner to go, yeah, I actually do genuinely believe they're going to get us to where we need to be. And I think that's what business owners need to look at doing, is just getting educated enough to be able to ask those cursory questions, and then and weed out the $200 a month guy, $500 a month guy, whatever, weed them out, start talking to real people that know what they're talking about, they can justify their value, and then go from there. But guys, thanks so much, Like, this is really good. I think people are going to get a lot out of this. And guys, where can people find us if they want to have a chat, you know, if they want to ask some more questions?
Well, they can find me at omegadigital.com.au and send me an email at andrew@omegadigital.com.au. That'll be the easiest way. They'll send me an email. We'll check out the website.
Excellent.
Awesome.
Oh, and I spelled it wrong.
That's all right. All good, man.
Right on the loop. What about you, James?
prosperitymedia.com.au. Check out the website. Message me on LinkedIn if you want. James Norkway on LinkedIn. Add me. As long as you're not going to spam me with offers or something. That's
Well, if you
cool.
don't put it out there, you won't get 10,000 Indian SEOs trying to get a job.
I
mate.
get like 20 people add me a day, so I don't mind. Most of them get deleted because they're trying to spam me with some offer. But yeah, no, add me on LinkedIn. Happy to have a chat. Yeah, I mean, hopefully there was some good tips today. I mean, like even if it's not the right type of client for us, you know, hopefully the advice that we provided today helps out some small business owners and puts them in the right direction. You know,
Exactly.
sometimes that's all you can do. You know,
It's the
give
whole
people
reason.
the right direction.
It's the whole reason I've started doing these daily is because I'm just sick of like spending the first half an hour of every conversation of every client that I speak to about how they've been ripped off by someone. And, you know, it's like the only industry where people get away with this. You know, if you're a car yard and you're ripping people off, you know, like without any chance of outcome, you know, the ACCC be on you. You know, today tonight or something, you'd be doing an expose, but like businesses just seem to cop it on the chin a lot of the time and go, oh, they ripped me off for 20 grand and they haven't taken any act. They just like cop it on the chin and move on. You know, like you imagine being a tradie and buying a $20,000 unit and breaking down or being a lemon, they would be jump up in arms, you know, like it's knocking doors down. But like it seems to be because it's marketing, they're just like, oh, just you know, write it off. And that shouldn't be the case. Everyone in this industry should be accountable to their actions. And you know, if we can help to contribute to that, that's really good. And I think, guys, in 10 days from now, you might be able to find both these boys down the pub potentially. that's the other place potentially. But guys, thanks once again for tuning in.
Thanks, Jimmy.
And next week is going to be. I think I'm going to do Facebook ads. That's next week. I'm going to cover off same deal. You know, expectations, what it does, what it can and can't do. And then I'll find some as good a guests as these boys to come and shoot some fat about it.
I reckon just get Nick Armanis, and if you want another Facebook ads guy, I know a guy called Blake in Sydney who goes all right too. So.
Excellent. Yeah, I'll pick your brains because I think you know, SEO is my forte, but you know, I think the whole thing is I want to be able to just create something that a business owner can just sort of watch start to finish, and they'll have a good idea of where all this stuff fits together. Because the other thing I'll just quickly cover off, you know, I hate when people treat SEO as a silver bullet for every business's problems. It's not the silver bullet. It's a bloody good bullet when it's in the right application, but it's not going to make it's not going to work in every industry. It's not going to work in super competitive spaces will work, but you need a lot of money. It's like, you know, so if we can just help businesses see where everything fits together so they know sequentially what orders to do stuff in or where they fit in the grand scheme, that's sort of what we're trying to achieve here. But guys, thanks once again.
Thanks, Jimmy.
Enjoy going back to work, James, and I'll catch you all